Well, good afternoon, folks. Hey, it's Shooter. Hey, we're trying for the third time. Hopefully we don't lose power. Welcome to the Late Shots. Of course, at the end of this presentation, do please review our disclosures. Now, today was actually a very busy day looking at the flow. I mean, typically we have a list half this size. So there was quite a little bit of action today. Now, I've got some of these worked up and some of them not. Amazon was, of course, in our primary wave setups this weekend. We had a nice large quantity of put sellers coming in, 170, 190, 130, roughly 18 million there coming in first thing this morning. One put buyer at 140, and then there was a butterfly sold for 1.2. So definitely a balance towards the upside. Other thing caught my attention this morning was this XOM $1 million play in June of 24. They basically bought a $50 call, so basically they paid $52 a share. Now, I've restructured that in a different trade. I'm going to watch it a day or so and see how it does. But that one we may be adding by the end of the week. Then we got a number of calls to the long side, with Tesla, which isn't unusual. Melly also caught my attention, but I haven't worked that one up yet. HYG really caught my attention, 25.35 million, buying a 90.85 put. So they're looking for some downside, I think, in the banking sector. That's a pretty decent play. Now that HYG is May. So it's like something's happening now, the 19th. So that's this next week, I believe. Now, Abiv, sell a 165.62 by 60 put for 2.5 million. Another nice play. ENPH, buy a 220.215 put for 8.4 million, the 19th also. Subex, buy a 115 by 130 put, 2.1 million. Looking at 102 and 103 puts on Disney. So they're looking long there. That's a decent bet for Disney. Don't usually see too many that big. Now, HYG, they're selling a 90 by 85 put. So that's 28.13 million there. Excuse me, am I correct? No, 45.67 million. So that's the other side of HYG. Somebody's getting a position for some kind of news that's coming out. They're getting ahead of something. That's too big of a play. I'm going to have to drill down on that one a little more and see if I can figure out what the heck it is. But, Tesla, sell a 400 put for 21 million, sell a 273.33 put for 8.5 million. So that's bullish Tesla. That's really bullish Tesla. That's unusual. That's an outlier. All right. So let's jump over to MotiveWave and drill down to a couple of these charts that I've worked up that look interesting here off of some kind of flow that I saw today, because I spent most of the morning there until I fell asleep about 11:30. So and then we looked until we lost power. And okay, so Snap looks decent here. Clearly got a confirmed low, divergent low, and another divergent low here. So 733 was it. We don't have a weekly trigger. We've got a daily trigger at 986. I'm just sort of waiting to see whether that holds, because we had so many slow bleeds. I'm in no rush to jump on board Snap, but it's interesting here for me. I like the look. I like the upside. 50% back is 45.06. By the way, I changed the middle label on the 50% back to green, so it stood out a little bit. Always looking for 50% back when I lay out these legs, just to give you a visual what I'm looking for versus the target. All right, now let's jump over to Marathon. Now, we've got this second drive here. Pretty confident that's a low. However, the count doesn't agree with me. That's one of my conditions. Count has to agree with me. Doesn't mean I won't take it a shot long. Breaks out above this 8-day. This 1283. Above that is a breakout. I probably give it a shot for 50% back. Again, that type of look. I've been stalking this forever. I was hoping we'd get a 3, so I have some kind of commitment. Nice divergence in this area here, but we didn't really get any confirmation as far as this being a top, and we have no confirmation over here. I mean, we have a confirmed low, but no second drive. So this really wasn't a bottom. This is more of a bottom here than this was. I like a shot at 46 to the upside, especially if crypto turns around and keeps going. Now, let me just jump over to crypto. Now, Bitcoin, the count's reset already at 25,827. It's telling me it was low. I don't know that I'm a believer of that yet, because that was a little bit of a weak push. And I didn't see fees just back off yet, so I'm sort of watching that. And Marathon is probably how I'm going to jump back in versus GBTC. Probably, selling a 5, and I think there's a $7.50 or $7 put. Want to go into the money just a little bit so I can ride it out, maybe January 24. I don't want to be out of GBTC because of the hearing, but I think I have 6 weeks. So right now I had some wiggle room. I was hoping we'd just flush out and give me a $12 again on GBTC, but it didn't. So at this point, I'm probably going to put a piece on in Marathon and go with that. All right, now Illumina. Now I'm just going to start out on the larger time frame here because this is in a super cycle here. I like this base down here. I like the longer term look on this. Significant upside. This gets going again. Nice divergence on this top. I mean, boom, confirmed high, divergent high, really sort of 3 mounds, so on the longer time frame looks pretty. And the only thing I don't like about this right now is this flat look, because that looks like continuation to me, which is why I started off on the longer time frame to look at that visual. So I get real serious above the 250, above this breakout line. We get above that. This is still resistance. We tested it, rejected it, shot overhead, rejected it. We rejected it again in the middle. So that may indicate that we have some, further weakness. This is another 50% back look. It's through my new fib retracement or extension tool there with the green label. So you'd see 50%. So like 39165, I think it's got a decent shot at 50%, based on the entire look of the leg. Kirk asked me to start looking for some short squeezes, and this is sort of the look that I want to see, but this is a significant base. And at this point, until we get broken out, it doesn't really excite me, but we had a large number of calls that came in on aluminum. I think the collective was close to 25 million. So that caught my attention. All right, then I wanted to look at Wells Fargo. Now, my thesis is we lose 3 or 5, maybe 10, maybe even 15 more mid-sized banks that are absorbed. At this point, Chase says it's not buying any more banks. And on top of that, I've heard rumors that, one of the U.S.'s larger banks is in trouble. Wells Fargo losing their mortgage division. That was my first thought. Wells Fargo is probably the weak sister here. So with a break below this 36.53 on a weekly, we're probably going to try and chase that short, looking for an ABC down to about 25. I'll let you know if that materializes. Now, Citizens Financial Group was another bank, but had a decent number of puts that came in. I've got a target about $5 lower at $20, maybe a back test of 50% of that candle just above the wick, right in that range. Then we'll may give it a shot short towards that $20 because this is a candidate for potentially a failure with how large that bet was. I think it was a total of 13 or 15 million to the downside. It was a decent sized bet. Then AI caught my attention today. We've had continuing buying on this at the $25 target. My hesitation is that my count says 20, it's in. At this 23.89 is basically what it's telling me. So my long stops way the heck down there at 16.79. Didn't like that, but we have confirmed high, divergent high. Maybe we do put it in at 3, and then we get rejected. But I'm watching that. This is getting the buzz with artificial intelligence. So there's nothing that would prohibit us in this type of market with so many few stocks that are running with the number of people. I think it had 17 trades today, accumulative of all those positions, and all of them were long calls. None of them were there was 1 and maybe 2 selling puts. But that typically means it's picked up by the FOMO crowd and the Mimi crowds to the long side. So that one we're stalking here a little bit. Now, I still like Micron. I've still got common shares on this that got put to me at 60. So, I'm sitting here holding, we're back around that 64, the target back over here was 75, to the upside. Now with market strength, this is a stock that can get going. There's absolutely no reason we can't put in a third drive up here on this top. Absolutely no reason. And Micron, with any kind of market strength, AKA a Fed pause or pivot, which is part of the reasons I sort of was talking about the time frame where we might get a pause. I think there's a higher likelihood that we maybe get 1 or 2 more raises, then a pause, and then we don't see a rate hike for 3 to 6 months. And then we continue. So there's no rule here that you have to have equality, right? There's nothing. It's just buyers and sellers like equality. There are certain places where we start buying and certain places where we start selling. All right. And that's fairly consistent. So sometimes we get sidetracked, and if you look at the base here, and we had a nice little push, came off. What did we get? Nice little push, came off, nice little push, came off, put in a base. Put in a nice base here, tested at the highs, came off. So, 50% back on this is another viable shot for me with any market strength. And, I'm not even going to measure the entire, well, actually, I'm going to, just for giving you a physical look here. So the 50% back look, using the cycle wave, could give us $83. We're right now at 64. That's a staple play. Now, whether or not you want to start accumulating here, I'm going to leave that up to you because I do like it. And I'm probably, once we get past this week, there were just so many Fed's speakers this week. It was like, you kidding me? After CPI so quickly, obviously they're trying to manipulate the market in some way. But there's just too many chances of us coming off and the market getting spooked this week. So this is not one I would add this week. I would rather stay in relative strength. So, but maybe next week, it's on my radar. Buying small pieces, I have no problem with. If you're going to want to scale into something, Micron, long-term upside. We have a primary wave, with a weekly trigger here. Basically your stop would be the 50-day. If it gets back below there, if something else is going on, maybe we are going to head lower. But I do think there's some upside, and I think the White House will come out with some kind of money for microchips to help get plants started. Now, this was an outlier I've not looked at before. It came across Flow today. This FIGS, don't even know what the heck it is, but right with this base, I like a shot at 1063. I mean, it's not a huge push. They had I think it was 950 calls. We're getting some buzz today. So we're watching that. Then we had Fortnite, which also had a buzz in Flow today. I like the look here. We've put in our top, we flushed out, we really don't have a confirmed low. We definitely have divergence down here on the base. Apologize, I haven't worked up with the power getting out 3 times today. Sort of disrupted my afternoon, but we definitely have, maybe if we did, we'd get one more drive, but at this point, the market is sticking to these 2 drives. I've got those more, and matter of fact, I've never seen so many 2 drives in my life, but it works for me. And what I mean by a second drive is that we have our first confirmed low, which really isn't a confirmed low because we got a confirmed low here. But what happens is once you get that confirmed low and we back test and we've sort of satisfied that oversold status or overbought status, it's like they reset the stack and it starts over again. So until we build up enough pressure to put a blow off top in or retrace, we don't do it, kind of thing. So, once we put in this drive 1 on this mound, and notice there's 3 mounds, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So to me, this uptrend was exhausted here. Now this whole trend is like an A and this is like a B, and now we're going to get like a C way the heck up here. So equality to the long side on Fortnite is huge. And realize this is a stock that, as far as the pay to play trade is got a huge upside potential if they drift in that area. So, I like it for a breakout to maybe 78 from here. It's only $10, but that's what it looks like. I really like that. We might add that by Wednesday. All right, let's jump over and look at Walmart. Now, the 18th is earnings, huge play on the long side, a lot of puts being sold today, looking for a breakout maybe of this 154 with a target of about 168. But, a little longer term, I don't know that we're going to manifest that 168, but if this coincides with a Fed pause, this and Micron will be two that pop. So that's just my thought. Then FXI, we had a large number. The thesis is that a more bullish stance from the CCP, and I'm now calling him the CCP instead of China, towards a growth interest might bring in policies that are more favorable to growth. Now, it's yet to manifest, but there were a lot of 30s, some 35s bought out to September and a couple January 24s. Quite a decent amount of volume, so it caught my attention. So we're stocking that. But until, I'm still thinking about BABA short. So part of my thesis there is that sort of to what we saw on the flow today in FXI, and Billy was getting a bid, and a couple of other China names were getting a bid on that thesis, but yet consumer consumption has not grown. It declined like 3% last month. So as long as that continues, I don't know. I'm gonna need to see a change. I'm gonna need to see some FOMO. I'm going to need some continuation of people chasing this, and then I might get interested in a shot at 47. But, it sort of falls in that category of, it's in this range. It's not relative strength. So why add it here? But it looked decent. I mean, it just caught my attention. Wanted to share that with you. Okay, let's just go over the spot. In that range still, S&P is right there. We really had, just another inside bar. Boom, 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 boom. Once we got that bar, inside bar, tested the low, inside bar, inside bar, inside bar, inside bar. So when it gets out, and my assumption is it gets out to the upside, it should get a decent push. We should get up to, probably 50% of that push. So maybe 426 at least, will be the first leg up, maybe, and then heading towards 40 from there. 440, and then we get a decent back test on that primary leg from there. NASDAQ, same thing, hitting that speed line. It's just going right to it. Inside bar, inside bar. This really was an inside bar, but these other two were. So it hasn't flushed. So to me, that's relative strength, in this time of climate. Now, jumping over to the dollar, we continued with this candle today, 102.27. Let me make sure my data is up to date on this. Well, our high today was 102.58. Boy, that's a small bar for the day. Something tells me I'm missing data with this power outage. But, my point is that it looks like we're going to continue to the upside. Right now my target is this 103.65. That's what we're looking for. However, there's nothing that says we can't do this. This was some kind of intervention here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that, maybe even a back test of the 200-day here, because we're definitely pushing in the opposite direction of where we should be. Today we had a decent bar in TLT as well. Had a number of 102.50 calls for September that came in. Right at the open. Our high today was that 104.24, and our low was 103.12, and that's when those 102.50 calls came in. And so I still think we continue higher. However, I'm going to go back to my thesis on the dollar. Dollar keeps pushing. We should actually be seeing a little more strength in TLT than we are. So that makes me hesitate on saying that we are going to push. Now, we had some calls come in on KRE today, in the flow. Count actually is supporting, we pretty much got our target a little bit lower. Count's now telling me that 30.52 is in. So, maybe a bounce towards that 44, 42, which is totally doable. They were 40 calls that started coming in today, and 45s out in September and January 24. So, however, my thesis is we have a possible lower low in RSI, not a confirmed low, because our confirmed low is way the heck back here. So we have a confirmed low back there, high and tight or low and tight, however you want to call it. Those are the best ones that I like, and those are usually the most responsive. So I think there's more of a shot for us to get this 3 first. So I'd want to see a divergent low, one divergent low from this RSI point. Then I'd be interested in chasing that long. Otherwise, it more than likely is going to push to the downside. Now, we also saw some huge calls coming in on XOM. $50 calls that were out in January 24. Might have been even in June 24, but it was a large block. They paid $52 a share for them. That to me was very bullish considering where we are, especially staring at a $60 oil chart on West Texas crude. Now, jumping over and looking at light crude here, I've got a countdown here at 41 now. Just reset this thing. So, we got quite a little bit of downside based on this look. Let me jump out to the monthly for a second. Now, looking at crude, this is probably one of the charts that will stick with me for the rest of my life. I got this ridiculous negative count on crude right here on West Texas Intermediate. We were just about $43, I think is where I got it on this wick here. And this is when we printed our April 2020 low, where we went negative in West Texas Intermediate. I was probably the only guy on the planet that saw it. I talked with Dale about it at the time, and he thought I was nuts and blew me off. And 2 weeks later, he couldn't stop talking about me. However, neither of us chased it. All right. So whenever I get a count, I listen to it and see, I use a basic repetitive concept in how I look at things. Confirm low, divergent low. So what should we have expected after this? One more divergent low. We got it. All right. So that's a 2 drive. But, right, who the heck would think that we would get a 3rd drive down here and crude would go negative again? Well, it's a possible outcome based on the way this chart looks. And part of the reason is if you look at our October 2004 resistance, it was 135.51. We did not take it out from the COVID closure highs when everything was shut down. Didn't take it out. So that is pretty solid resistance here. Now, my count only says maybe we go down to 35.41 here. So our next target would be about 41 to 55. That makes it really hard to put on an XOM, long or any other midstream oil right on the long side with this kind of. I really have to see a divergent low here, wherever it might be, where we have some, a second drive at least to indicate that we've put in the bottom and this was a complete exhaustion that we'll never see again. Otherwise, there really is, when it comes down to price discovery, there's really nothing that wouldn't come back and say, hey, we have a global slowdown due to, maybe not a depression, but maybe we do have higher inflation that causes us to drift lower. So, that's my only hesitation in something like XOM. So, but that's what I have for the day, folks. Great trading. Until next time.